I often get asked this question is the role of the startup visa incubator just to issue the letter of support, or is there something more that they do for you as a startup founder? My name is Andrea Bailey from Yalla Canada. I'm an RCIC, that's a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and I specialize with the startup visa program, also being the one that I moved to Canada with my family on, which gives me a really great insight into the program, not only from the founder's perspective, but now also from the immigration consultant's perspective. So now you already probably know that in order to actually qualify for the startup visa program, you need a letter from a designated organization. These organizations are listed on the canada.ca website, and that is where you can find the list of all of these approved organizations from the Canadian government. A designated organization could be a venture capital firm, it could be an angel investor, or it could be a local Canadian incubator. And besides actually giving you that letter of support, which is super crucial for you to actually move to Canada, the role of the incubator or a designated organization is actually to make sure that you succeed, to do the best that they can to ensure that the startup succeeds in Canada. And typically how this is done is they give you access to training programs, they would have access to mentors, advisory services, access to connections, set up events, networking events where you can actually meet fellow investors, and sometimes even access to capital via their pitch days. If you as an entrepreneur do well, at the end of the day, it reflects well on that local Canadian incubator and the designated organization. Now, while the designated organization does have it in their best interest for you as a startup to succeed, at the same time, they basically treat you as adults and not as children, which means hand-holding is not one of those things that they would focus on so much. And they are not going to follow up with you repeatedly or just stay in touch with you all the time or nag you for documentation, etc. They expect that you take your business seriously, run your startup the way that it has to be, which is professionally, and also that you keep them updated on the progress of your business. If you look at the fine print of your letter or contract, you will notice that you are supposed to be sending a monthly or a quarterly update to that designated organization. But if you do not send those updates, you will actually notice that there is no one that's going to be following up with you from their end. This is your responsibility as a business owner and an entrepreneur who has moved to Canada on the startup program. Till recently, when IRCC had questions for designated organizations about the startups, they would go via NACO, that is the National Angel Capital Organization. Now, NACO would then send those questions from IRCC to the designated organization about the startup, asking for an update. And there would be ample time for the designated organization to actually get a response together for IRCC through NACO. Now, what we have been noticing lately is that IRCC has in fact been going directly to the designated organizations, avoiding going through the NACO route. This is probably to save time and make the process more efficient. And in this instance, the designated organizations would have a specific time within which they are meant to supply IRCC back with the responses on the updates from the startups that they have sponsored. The designated organization is going to go into their records, pull out the latest update about that particular startup, and provide that as a response back to IRCC. So if you as a startup have been providing regular updates to your designated organization, you need not worry because they will take the most recent one and provide that. However, if you have not been providing them regular updates, you can be sure that your designated organization is going to provide the last update that you have sent, whether it was 6 months ago or maybe more than that, and that would not reflect well on your startup back to the IRCC. In some cases, your designated organization would reach out to you as a startup prior to IRCC contacting them, and depending on the time that they have been given, they may or may not have the time to actually get your latest feedback. They may require to simply send the information that they have on hand. So in closing, the understanding is that the designated organization does not just provide the letter of support to the startup, but they also provide other services and support that is meant for the success and meant for the business and the startup to do well in Canada. They need to not only defend their selection of the startup to IRCC by sharing the due diligence process for selection, but also to keep IRCC updated on the progress of that particular chosen and selected startup. If you are in this program, make sure that you are sending your designated organization those regular updates on your business, as well as just staying in touch with them routinely so that they know what's happening with you almost on a monthly basis. That relationship will go a long way even in the future. This is Andrea from Yala Canada. If you are considering whether the startup visa program is right for you, and to help you find the right designated organization, the one that's the best fit for your organization, get in touch and the Yala Canada team can help you navigate this process and this move to Canada.